Well, good morning, lovely people. Steve Collins coming to you from after the storm in San Antonio, Texas, the second most powerful, passionate, and purposeful coach and speaker in the world. Hope you guys had a decent and wonderful weekend. If you're from San Antonio, Texas, last night was a very interesting night. Last night, we had one of the worst storms we've seen in a very long time. And there are lessons to be learned from last night's storm. You see, last night, there were some people who were not affected at all. Last night, there were some people who were dramatically affected. In fact, I saw on a feed this morning that there were a couple of people who had a tornado hit on their street here in town. Hundreds of years old oak trees knocked over. Stuff in the yard blown over. Roofs messed up. The point of the lesson of the storm is this. This message is for those of you that are in a storm this morning, that are in a storm of your life. Maybe a relationship that was very important to you and still is very important to you is going through a storm. Maybe you are in a financial storm right now. Maybe you are in a storm with your children or your teenagers. Maybe you are in a storm of dissonance and disconnect with Almighty God. Maybe you are in a storm of life right now. And the hope and the lesson from last night's storm in San Antonio is this. Trouble don't last always, and the storm always passes through. The challenge is in the midst of the storm, in the midst of the torrential downpour and the clasping thunder and the bright, powerful lightning and the trees going back and forth and maybe even hail in the midst of that, that can be very scary. And then sometimes when that lightning strikes so hard with such a powerful effect, it takes the power out. Maybe you have lost your power. Maybe your power is out because of the storm that you are in right now. Maybe you're in a storm at work. Storms don't last always. This is what I want you to hear. No matter how bad the storm was last night, no matter how many children ran from the room into their parents' bedrooms last night, no matter how many people were worried about their windows breaking or their roofs tearing off. And you know, there are some storms that take people out. There are some storms that change things forever. And yet the storms do not last always. The storms do not remain. No matter how rough it gets, everybody in a storm understands that it's gonna pass. And everybody understands this is not permanent. This storm will not be permanent. Everyone understands that it is temporary and it comes in waves. And at some point it peaks out and it maxes out, and you know that's the worst. Then it begins to wane. And my encouragement to you today, if you're in a relationship storm, if you're in a marriage storm, if you're in a parenting storm, if you are in a financial storm, if you are in a storm in your own life, know that the storm will pass. Know that there is light. Know that the sun will rise. The breeze will blow, the flowers will come out, and what you thought would take you out is not going to take you out. It's going to actually bring you up. And when you look back on this season that you endured, you will have a perspective and an appreciation for that springtime season where new life begins to emerge. If your marriage is in a storm, it ain't gonna last. The storm will not last. You can fight your way through it. If you're in a storm in relationships, you'll work your way through it. If you're in a storm financially, you can work your way through it. Just know this, my friends. The storms always past. Trouble don't last always. And you will see sunshine again. Have a great day, guys.